something. This Thursday, trust you me, is going to be an amazing Thursday. DJ leo ametuanzishia na muziki bila jasho. Yani wanasema muziki bila jasho. Wasonga tu pole pole tu. Hakuna kuforce. Sio mugithi Mike like
hey bana, mbona violence asubuhi? Mbona violence?
Mdogo tu pole pole.
Mpaka unajua DJ amecheza hizo muziki mpaka nikashindwa. DJ it's giving wapenda nao kind of a vibe. What's happening?
It's giving Gen X. That's definitely giving Gen X. But it's a beautiful Thursday right here on the show, and I love the songs that you've gotten to play, especially Iyo Maproso, by the way, Wakadinali featuring Susanna Owiyo, because it's not your usual kind of Wakadinali songs.
Yeah.
This is a song where they got to show us their versatility.
Yes.
Like, awaimbi tu sijui ni nini.
And
you
to
know?
get to collaborate with Susanna Owiyo.
Yeah.
Because she's one of the best that we have in this country.
It's a very beautiful song. And before that, there's also the other one that you played. Was it by Alicios?
Yeah.
That's a very beautiful song.
Bigikari.
Soma mapenzi ya Nairobi.
Scam.
Nani anataka to risk? Anyway, this is how we started off right here on Entertainment Thursday. As is the usual, Thursday is the new Friday right here on this show. It is the 10th day of July, and we promise you nothing but good vibes right here on the show. I will be having a conversation with an illustrator and digital artist. And today, I am promising you nothing but good music. I know I'm not the DJ, but I know my DJ. And I know what he can do. Yes. So I'm promising you nothing but good music. We're going to be doing less talking, more music, and even more dancing. So better get your dancing shoes ready. DJ,
Yes.
najua nimesha kuweka like najua tu kenye unaenda kucheza, so hakuna kuniangusha. Tunacheza nini leo?
Kama kawa. Kwanza hapo kwa dance. Hapo kwa dance, Mike.
Uko ready na wa ini wa.
My friend. Utawekelea thao?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ya mimi kudance ni kushinde.
Oh, kama
Okay.
ni competition mimi niko game, mnipatie hizo thao.
Mimi nitaekelea. Hapo na kama hii ni Mike nitaekelea.
Am I that bad? Is it that bad? But anyway, you know, DJ, you have set a precedence for today's show, so there is no going down. Hakuna kuangusha the bar.
Not at all.
So the only way is up. Yeah, and before we even get into that, I want us to look at something else a little bit before we get into the entertainment aspect of the show. It's about the protests that have been ongoing, and youth talking about matters to do with governance, matters to do with corruption and everything. But then again, you look at the protests and the distractions that they have caused, and also loss of life. Is it time to rethink strategy? Is it time to get off streets and rethink strategy? That is a conversation I'll be having with two gentlemen. That is Davis Bin Oluoch, who is ODM youth leader, and also Wakili Frank Nyamari, who is an advocate of the High Court. That will be coming to you in just a bit, so stay with us.
And it's actually a very needed conversation, Mike, because it's about time we try and look what other way is possible for whatever it is that people are pushing for. Because right now the streets don't seem to be the solution, because it's doing more harm than good. We are losing more young people, and people are losing their businesses. You know, their hard-earned money just going to the drain in a matter of seconds, simply because there are some goons who've decided, well, you know. So it's really, it's a good conversation.
And you know, the young generation, they are told they are the voices of the future. The future is now. And this is one of the ways that we are going to make their voices count. So what other strategies are there to ensure that even as issues are addressed, everything and everyone is safeguarded within the confines of the Constitution? So that is a conversation that we are going to have right here on Good Morning Kenya. So welcome to the program.
All right, and right now we take a musical break, and then Mike will be back with that conversation. Then we'll get into full sherehe. Don't go too far.
Indeed, this is Entertainment Thursday. My name is Mark. As earlier promised, we get to the first conversation of today. We are looking at the things that have been happening within the country. Protests, the Sabasaba protests, then on June 25th we had other protests. Lives have been lost, property has been destroyed, and businesses have lost. But then again, is it time that we sat down and rethought our strategy? Do we get away from the streets and think of ways that we can engage in a manner that accommodates everyone and protects everyone and get to a solution? So that is a conversation that we are having today. And Davis Bin Oluoj belongs to the ODM Youth League, and he joins me here in studio to talk about this. And also later on, we'll be joined by Wakili Nyamari Frank, who is an advocate of the High Court. Davis, karibu sana.
Thank you so much.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well.
Baridi inakupeleka aje because
baridi iko mingi sana.
Yes.
For the last 1 week.
Yes.
It's been hivyo too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, let's get into it. Your thoughts about the protests that have happened so far? Yes, let's start from there.
Thank you so much, Migwi, for having me this morning. First, I want to say that the protest, to some extent, has been genuine. The concerns have been genuine. The concerns about the university funding model, concerns about unemployment, the concerns about youth bulge, corruption, concerns have been genuine. But recently we've seen an intrusion and loss of lives, loss of properties. And I think it's time we have a conversation as a country. Yes.
Yes. So where do we go from here? Okay, because there's that right that is protected by the Constitution, the right to peaceably protest and picket. But then again, if we are to rethink about what we are doing, what is the best strategy to engage the government in as far as the issues raised? Yes, they are genuine, but then again, what should be the rules of engagement going forward?
Maybe I think it's a constitutional moment, and this is a moment like no other, because I think it goes down to maybe 1963, when the people went on the streets, the Mau Mau were on the bushes, and people said no to colonialism. And people sat down and people had a conversation. People went to Lancaster, some went to London, and then in the long run, the Union Jack was lowered and the Kenyan flag was raised. And we saw in 1992 there were constitutional reforms and the multipartyism was brought. We saw in 2010 there was the new constitution. People again sat down. And even people sat down in 2005 when they tried to draft the Bombers Constitution, and they sat down in 2008 when they drafted the new constitution. So I think the concerns, Migwi, are very genuine. And I think now it's a constitutional moment. Let's come together and let's hear what the young people are saying in a room. Let's hear what the government is saying. Let's hear what the Matatu sector is saying. Let's hear what the businessmen are saying. Let's hear what the students are saying. Let's put them in a conclave. I think that's what my party leader is saying. And my party leader is not saying that out of nowhere.
Yes.
Actually, it was our proposals as the young people of the party. We took the proposals to the party leader, and we told him that now this is over the board, and now we need to have a conversation as a country. Migi, what I want to add is that maybe we'll need a neutral person to moderate. What we can now discuss here is who is going to host this conversation. Must be a neutral person. The government must come with a goodwill and a genuine concern that they actually want to listen to people. And likewise to the opposition, even the young people. Like, it is now, egos must now be dropped, because now it's the government's ego is high, the young people's egos are high, so we must find a neutral ground.
Yes.
Yes.
Because you've mentioned something very important, because we have it seems like the young people have this hard stance, and then the government in its response looks like it's also having a hard stance. So how do you mellow these two and get them to sit down?
That's what I started with. And I said that first, we must all be genuine. The young people must be genuine, and the government must be genuine. And then we must find a neutral ground. This conversation is not going to be held in a one-sided leaning, like let's say State House.
Yeah.
State House is home ground to the government. And the young people can also not say that they want to have this in a university setup.
Yeah.
So first, we must have a neutral ground. Second, we must have a neutral host or a moderator. Maybe we can have the media houses combining their forces to come as moderators. Maybe you can have Center for Multi-Party Democracy. Maybe you can have international partners or foreign, like in 2007, we had a truce here, and Kofi Annan helped us, and Benjamin Mkapa and Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete, they came, and Condoleezza Rice at some point. So we need someone who has no vested interest to be our moderator. And I think with that, we will come up with a very good team and very good deliberations.
All right.
Yes.
Let's take a very short break. We'll be right back to continue with this conversation. Keep it Channel 1.
Women's Africa Cup of Nations, Morocco.
Feel the pulse of a continent where Africa's fiercest women warriors clash for glory in the Women's Africa Cup of Nations 2024. Africa's top teams, one crown. Morocco hosts once more, ready to etch new legends into history. Rising stars, one stage to shine.
And it is the Copper Queen. They have been waiting for this moment. Here's a chance for a second. South African lead by 2-0 in this final, and he'll never higher.
This is more than football, it's African excellence. It's women's power. Don't miss WAFCON 2024, live from Morocco.
The men and women in boats, their core mandate to defend and protect the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the Republic of Kenya. Their bravery knows no limits.
Make a man go through the wall without breaking the wall. Laziness, it is not in our vocabulary.
But what are their stories, their tales? Military Tales, every Saturday at 9 p.m. with Ben Troy and Joey.
Karibu tena sana, tunaendelea na mjadala wa leo. We are asking, is it time we rethought our strategy in terms of how we approach issues, because protests have been happening and lives have been lost, properties are destroyed. So are we due for a change in tactics? Wakili Frank Nyamari joins us here on Good Morning Kenya to contribute to this important topic. Karibu sana Wakili.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm well.
Yes.
Maybe you.
Mi niko salama, baridi tunapambana nayo vizuri sana. Yeah. But then again, I want to get your feeling. What do you think of the events that have happened?
Yeah, that as a country we have to undergone. And we must also appreciate the fact that protests are part of what the Constitution grants Kenyans in terms of Article 37, I think. So we did not see ourselves getting here, but then it is just unfortunate that we have experienced what, as a country, we have experienced right from last year, 2024, and all the way even up to now. And as you look at the things which are happening, there seems to be no solution which is coming up. And so on that basis, we find ourselves in very, very unfamiliar times where we need to rethink our strategies and also see to it that how can we as a nation together solve our issues and be able to see progressive developments.
Yes.
Yes.
And indeed, also, do you think that in as far as the people have this quest for better governance, dealing with corruption, matters to do with economy, have we taken a hard stance that it's cast on stone, things have to change now?
We must recognize that there's some things which have been there historically. Things like corruption. It has been a tall order to this country for leaders to fight corruption. You must always find some dint of corruption in any government department, and that's so unfortunate. And the leaders that have been elected, especially this 11th house, they have showcased a lot of, let me say, intolerance and also arrogance. And to that extent, many Kenyans, a majority of Kenyans, especially the young people, have felt frustrated. And then the government has gone ahead and made promises which it has not been able to fulfill. And so there are so many things that make the livelihoods of simple Kenyans difficult. And it's a time that Kenyans have stood up since last year to come and say no to these things. It is very, very important that we all look at ourselves as a people and embrace our values as that which is in the Constitution and be able to come up with a nation which is purely transformed out of those ills, so that we can be able to realize progressive developments, improve the livelihoods of common persons, and be able to move the country forward. Yes.
You know, I was talking to Davis here, and he did say that if we are to bring the people and the government together, we need a neutral ground or a neutral person to mediate this. Is that possible? And from your perspective, do you think mediation will help in dealing with these issues?
The question will be, who is this person who is coming to mediate? Because from last year, from 2022 to be precise, we have seen the person who will have mediated, that is the church, being able to join hands with the state. And the results are outrightly clear that the church has lost its credibility because it allowed itself to be used by the state to be able to propagate some of these ills that are happening here today. And so we are asking ourselves, who is this person who is coming to mediate between the youths and the government? Who is this one person who is going to do that? But then we must also realize that our institutions have been compromised a lot. Our Parliament has been compromised, the executive is compromised, you know, and looking at what the Constitution has given us in terms of separation of powers and performance of their respective functions, it is something that has been lost totally, completely. So the best way out is to restructure those independent commissions. Let's say things like IPOA, things like ESCC. We need to see a change in such institutions. We need to see institutions where people are being held accountable. We need to see what we call political goodwill, that our constitution is based on political goodwill, and that is what will make every person be able to adhere to the principles and the doctrines which are therein.
Yes.
Now, you realize that when we look at that constitution as just another book in the library, and it does not speak to us as a nation, we lose our obedience to it. And that is the core reason. But then if you're talking of a mediator, I will tell you that we have a mediator already, who is the Constitution of Kenya. If every person can be able to express that goodwill and be able to adhere to those principles which are underlined in the Constitution, you know, strict adherence to Chapter 6 of the Constitution, which talks about leadership and integrity, we will be able to have a far much better nation than what we have today. Yes.
Davis, do you believe that currently, as at now, all is lost?
All is not lost. You see, in 1963, we came up with the national anthem. We said, "Oh God of all creation, bless this our land," and all that. And every other generation has risen to the occasion on a call that they have been given. There are some who liberated us or gave us the new constitution. There are some who gave us multipartyism. I think this generation was right, because there was opulence, there was grandiose corruption, there was a lot of many other things. And the young people of this nation called the nation to its soul, asked him, is this the Kenya we really want? And I think all is not lost, and all is not lost is a negative statement. I think we are in the right direction. And I think where I disagree with Wakili here is that we actually need that conversation, so that as a generation we can also legitimize our concerns and our gains, so that in 30 years or 40 years to come, we will also be able to say that on June 25th, on 2024, we came on the streets, and we came on the streets in June 2025, and these were our gains. Today, if you find the 1990s, people were celebrating Sabasaba, they went to the streets, they went to jails, and in the long term, or in the long run, after all was said and done, they had multi-party. They say that today you see UDA is there is ODM, there is Jubilee, because of what we fought for. You find people in the 1963s who are still alive, they say that we went to the bush to fight. And after all is said and done, we have a country called Kenya, which was not there. We have our own flag, we have our own military, our own currency, our own national anthem, and our own schools. And we have our own president, a black man as a president, a black parliament, a black chief justice.
Yes.
So I think we also need to put this thing to paper and to parliament and to pass what we need as our own, as our reforms. Do we need free education? Do we need 30% of the jobs to go to young people? Do we need parliament to do this and that? Do we need judiciary to do this and that? What are our aspirations for our mothers and our fathers in the rurals? What are the aspirations of the country in terms of our slums? What are the aspirations of the country in terms of freedoms? And what are our aspirations in terms of police? Do we need the police force reformed to police service? So we need to put those gains onto paper and call them the June 2053 reforms, June 25th reforms. And then in 30 years, we can also say that we went to the streets and we fought for this, and that is why today in Kenya we have this and that. So all is not lost. In fact, we are on the right track.
Yes.
Yes.
But given the kind of the protests we've witnessed and what they have degenerated, Wakili, are we losing focus and have they lost meaning?
First of all, we must appreciate the fact that the Constitution grants every Kenyan the right to go and protest peacefully and picket. And so that will always be there. But then we ask ourselves, once we've done that and the state has somehow acted like it's not listening, what next? You know? And so that's now when the question of elections come in, that we actually need to change our leadership. We actually need to look for a better way, a constitutional way to change our leadership. And that is by the way of the ballot. So we realize that statistically, young people make actually 70% of the population. They actually make 60% of registered voters as per the statistics of 2022 general elections. If all those young people can realize that they have that tool within them, they can be able to go to the ballot and select better leaders. Leaders who can be able to deliver to them, leaders who can be able to create jobs, leaders who can be able to be proponents or rather champions of constitutionalism and obedience to the rule of law. So we have that tool. When protests have failed, we have not even been able to present our petitions because every single time young people go to the streets, they are tear gassed, others are shot, and it's unfortunate that those things are happening. So we are not able, even after 1 year down the line, the government has not been able to really look at the things that are being, the things that the youths are saying. So when that has failed, we need to realize that now the tool that we have at hand is the tool of the ballot. And that is to a call to every young Kenyan to go register as a voter and come 2027, vie. I mean, go send yourself to the ballot. If you feel like you're that person who can be able to bring that change, go for it. And convince other young people and all Kenyans to be able to vote for you. And thereafter, you need to deliver. Because the question is, the reason as to why these things are happening is because there is no delivery of service. There is no job creation. There is no, that delivery aspect is totally missing. Yes.
So Davis, what happened to petitions? Because we always have to degenerate into protest every time we have to raise an issue.
Most of the time, people in power, they hear the protest language more than boycotts, and of course boycott is also a form of protest. But the street protest is what, world over, talk about the Martin Luther King Jr. and the March on Washington, talk about the Malcolm X's, talk about Mahatma Gandhi and the Salt March, talk about Nelson Mandela. So protest has always been the form that very many people in power here, even people who lead institutions like universities and high schools, that time when you now go to the streets is the time when they actually tend to listen. But what I've always loved is that after the protests emerge people who say that now it's time to converse. And actually that is deeply what I feel, that we've got there as a country. Because after all is said and done, Migwi, we are all Kenyans. President William Ruto is Kenyan. Prime Minister Raila Odinga is Kenyan. Boniface Mwangi is Kenyan. Martha Karua is Kenyan. Honorable Rigathi Gachagua is a Kenyan. I am a Kenyan. All these generations are Kenyans. The old have the experience. The young have the energy. What can we do together as a country? And what are our issues as young people? what are the issues of not so young people? What are the issues of the aged? What are the issues of the people in power? What are the issues of the teachers? What are the issues of the Matatu riders? It's time we converse as a country. And maybe I know that there are people who are opposed to what the former Prime Minister, my party leader, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga suggested, that actually we need an intergenerational conclave, a conversations of generations. And in the concept, and Migwi, I happen to be part of a team that developed the concept. Part of the concept is that it is not only intergenerational, that we have millennials and Gen X and Gen Zs. We will also have groups that have different petitions and aspirations. We will have the border. But if you do your research, they have like 3 million people in the border sector.
Yeah.
What are their issues? We have the farmers. What are their issues? We have the students. What are their issues? And we even tend to add these, the Gen Alphas, the people in high schools and primary school. What are their issues? So that we come up with the resolutions, even 14 points agenda, and we say that now going forward, these is what we want to tackle. And what I will say, Migwi, is that if this doesn't work, we can always have another petition. So let us just come to our conscience and do this thing and have a conversation.
Yes.
So what I think is that the conversation is the way forward.
Yes.
Yes.
You've raised a very important issue, and even coming with those petitions, those reports and everything. But Wakili, implementation.
Now that is the biggest challenge that we've had as a country.
Yeah.
From implementing the constitution, implementing the policies at government departmentals, it is becoming very, very difficult. And you see, the question I was even asking myself yesterday is this, that if we don't have, okay, we have a parliament that is sole responsibility is oversight. And that oversight comes with it the responsibility of ensuring that policies, rules are implemented. So who will oversight? Who will oversight, for example, the police? No? If we have the IPOA, who will oversight IPOA? Who is this person who is going to hold accountable the actions of, let's say, the DCI, ESCC? Who is going to do that? Remember, sometimes back we had traffic police officers being chased. Those who would be corrupt to take money from drivers. We need that kind of. We need that kind of implementation. We need that kind of oversight. We need to have people who can hold these policemen accountable for their actions. And so implementation is the biggest challenge that we've had in this country. There is no political goodwill. You can present the best petitions, you can present the best ideas, but the implementation aspect is totally
What about
missing.
the mindset? Do we go wrong even at the level of mindset, even if we are talking about implementation, oversight, and everything else? What about changing mindsets?
The question is, you will change your mindset. And by the way, it is not that these young people have a mindset of just going to the streets to go and protest. You see, they are jobless. The president promised jobs. And a majority of those who voted for the president are the young people. Why? Because they saw a future. They saw an idea. They bought it. They aligned themselves to him. And that is the reason as to I'm saying the president himself has failed to implement. It's not about the mindset of the young people. It's about implementation of those ideas. How many jobs have been created? How many court orders have been disobeyed? I speak this because disobedience of court orders, it's a mindset. But implementation of ideas is not a mindset. It is something that lacks within our political class, that they are not willing to be able to go and implement that which they promise. They are not able to have this political goodwill as far as the constitution is concerned and be able to address every issue constitutionally. That is why you will find that even when young people are going for protests, they are required to notify the police. And what in return are the police supposed to do? Provide security. But then what happens? You will find that young people have gone to the streets, they are unarmed, but however, they are tear-gassed. In as much as we must appreciate that there are a few elements within those protests who are causing chaos and destructing property, we must be able to call them off. We must be able to capture them and hand them over to the police, and that has happened before. But then how do we ensure that whatever is required of the policeman and that peaceful protest is taken care of? You know, that is now the question that we need all of us to ask ourselves. So it is not a question of a mindset to just go and protest. Remember when the finance bill was being passed, there was the aspect of public participation.
Yes.
You will remember that 90% of those who presented their views as far as that finance bill was concerned were against it. But what happened? It was the mindset of the members of parliament, and particularly maybe the president, who told them that this thing must pass. In fact, some members of parliament would come out in open and say, hii tutapitisha. Understand? So it is no longer a mindset, it's just people who have decided to not to obey, not to listen, and that is now what is causing chaos in this country. Going forward, it is high time that we as a nation have an honest conversation. It is time that we look at ourselves and look at our actions and look at maybe our future, our aspirations as a people, and be able to structure this country according to our aspirations and be able to have this political goodwill of obeying constitutional principles, upholding the rule of law, and having an honest conversation going forward. As my colleague has said, we need to consider certain groups. Remember, the Constitution comes in and identifies certain groups. I think it's high time that we even amend and include others. No? The Constitution talks about children. The Constitution talks about marginalized groups, the youths, the rights of women, all that. You know, the aged persons. You know, so it's high time we also start looking at these border people, these mamambogas, these small-scale farmers and entrepreneurs. How do we incorporate them? How? Because they actually form a significant percentage of our population, and they have a significant and most important contribution as far as governance is concerned, as far as development is concerned. How do we look at those people and be able to give them that which they deserve? You know, as we do that, how do we ensure that constitutionalism is upheld? The rule of law is, there is obedience to court orders. When we subject ourselves as a country, as a people, to those things, this country will be far much better than it is today.
Always, do you think if we really followed the Constitution to the letter, we would not be in a situation in which we are today?
If we followed Constitution to the letter, we will be at a better situation. That one I agree. But I also want to say, I'm not a lawyer, I didn't study law. It was just a unit in a course that I studied. But what I hear what lawyers say is that Constitution is a live document and the world keep on changing. Today, women are so keen about something called SRHR, which they were not keen about it in the 90s. Today, we have social media, which we did not have in the 1990s. So Constitution should also evolve as people evolve. So I agree that if the Constitution was followed to the letter, we will be at a better place. But I also agree and admit that we need to review our Constitution, even if it's about if after 10 years or 20 years or 30, because things keep changing. Yes.
All right, let's go for a break, and when we come back, there's a question about how we compare to other democracies. This is going to happen right after this short break.
And Lamin Camara with his first career goal.
Ni muda wa kuhesabu kwa ajili ya kusherekea fasili na asili ya soka barani Afrika, ligi za ndani na magwiji wasiotambulika.
Mangeni Alvin anaichanja ndani uzuri, David!
Michuano ya CAF ya mataifa ya Afrika 2024 ni njia ya kuzindua kupanua mtandao wa wachezaji ulimwenguni. Timu itakayoshinda itazawadiwa dola za Marekani milioni 3.5 pamoja na kujivunia kulinyanyua kombe hilo. Pata manufaa zaidi kutoka kwa CHAN 2024 mubashara na kipute cha kipekee kwenye runinga ya KBC Channel 1, mwenzio wa dhati michezoni.
Hello, fabulous ladies. Welcome to the talk show that's all about sisterhood, empowerment, and unfiltered conversation. We will be focusing on women.
We believe in women.
We are really changing. We are creating a safe space for women to connect, thrive, and share.
Just because you're a woman on a bike, you're labeled in a certain way.
It's not just a talk show, it's a movement.
When they're standing, we need to stand out.
From heartwarming tales to hilarious adventures.
They could ask me, Catherine, why are you learning?
We are turning the spotlight on women who are breaking barriers in their individual fields.
You have to have a vision. You are the leaders of Kenya today.
Keeping it honest and relatable.
Mental health is real.
Yes.
Where there is no communication, there is no relationship.
Join the sisterhood on KBC TV for Dada's show.
If you're just joining us, this is Good Morning Kenya's Entertainment Thursday. The segment is Future Voices, where the future leaders or young people get to contribute or to put forward their voice to contribute to the future and growth of this country. We are talking about the things that are happening within the country. We've had the protest in 25th of June, and then on Monday, lives lost, businesses are lost. But then again, where do we go from there? Are we doing or are we due for a change in tactics? Wakili, I want to engage you on this. Since 1963, the lowering of Union Jack and everything else, we became independent. And so far, how would you say we compare with other democracies, especially in what is commonly referred to as first world countries?
Yeah, as a country, we have experienced tremendous growth in the space of democracy.
Mm-hmm.
I was not born when people were fighting for multi-party democracy,
yeah.
But then I read the books of history. And I can compare this to our neighbors, let's say, for example, Tanzania.
Mm-hmm.
We also compare with Uganda, Rwanda, Ethiopia, Somalia, Sudan, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
We realize that here in Kenya we have had a very, very good and critical democratic space.
Yes.
That we can be able to speak, we can be able to even come to TV stations as such and be able to speak. That is democracy. That is what Kenyans have earned. That is what the Constitution has granted everyone, to be able to speak freely, express themselves freely, engage with our leaders, unlike Uganda. In fact, for those people who are like 30 years, you will remember that they have been, Uganda has had a president for all those 30 years. And so many other things.
Yeah.
You see people going to the elections and the opposition leaders are beaten. Sometimes they are locked in their houses. they're put under house arrest. Same case maybe happens with Rwanda and so many other nations. But in our country, since independence, we have grown, we have made very, very important steps as far as our democracy is concerned. We have come up with a very progressive constitution which has recognized that people need to express themselves. It has given them the structures they need to be able to grow politically. It has spoken about our economic affairs and our social affairs. It has created and given people an array of things that they can do in terms of property ownership. We look at land laws and all that. So the Constitution of Kenya has been very, very progressive, giving every Kenyan the right to be able to do whatever they want, but in a constitutional way.
Yes.
That is why we are able to, today, you can be able to go and actually buy land. A foreigner can come and buy land, you know, you can register your own political party, you can be able to do a myriad of things within the constitution, and that is democracy. So we have given, looking at our neighbors, I can say that we have done so well when it comes to democracy, and this is a good space. And I was speaking to a friend last week that it is time that we go a niche higher, because the cry is there as far as our democracy is concerned. There is this generational cry that things need to be better. I think we've been in this state for quite some time. We now need to make that step and go a niche higher so that we can be able to realize what all these framers of the Constitution were aspiring to for us to have. Yes.
Davis, what do you think, and how do we compare with other democracies, especially in developed countries? And also, are there lessons that we can learn from them?
What I can say is that if you call developed countries, we are not doing well. But as Wakili Frank says, that there is progress. That's what he's saying. And what he didn't add is that that progress has always been fought for. There are people who've always been there to fight for that progress. And that's why Miguel will admit and confess, I hope NIS is not listening to me, that I have been on the streets. I was on the streets on the June of 24th. In the year 2024, I was there in June 25th. In the year 2025, I was there on the Sabasaba, on the streets, because I believe that people, for us to get where we are, so that Frank will say that we are above Tanzania and above Uganda and above very many other countries in Africa, there have been people who've always been there for the country and for the soul of the nation. So what I can say is that there is progress, but we are doing badly. More so in the last 1 year, we've not been doing well, and there is a return to things that we had long fought for. And that's why it was so distasteful when I heard that the Nairobi woman representative went to the parliament to propose a bill that the protests to be limited, where these are the things. And see, I was very embarrassed on her behalf because I'm a member of the ODM party and she's also a member. And she was there saying that now we have to curtail this protest because of blah, blah, blah. And in a minute or two, we are going back to the streets as ODM party, in maybe next year or next year but one, because we were founded on liberalism. And if liberalism is being curtailed, then the party will at one point say that we go back to the streets. So those same rules will hurt us as a party, will hurt its members, will hurt this country. So that was so distasteful. But what I will say is that maybe we are doing badly compared to developed countries. I've seen demonstrations in Germany, seen demonstrations in the America, I've seen demonstrations world over in developed countries. They're doing well. The police protects them, and there's no looting, and there's no property, and there's no abductions, and there are no extrajudicial killings. So in terms of that, we're doing very poorly. But we've gained some ground. That's why I can come on TV and is given a very good example of myriad of issues you can do in this country. You can form your own political party. Today, the former deputy president has traveled outside the country. Cannot be a case in very many other countries. Even while we were in the opposition, or while we were opposing government so hard that time, we will still hire KCC and do our events. We will still go there and do this and do that. So we've gained some ground. That one I must admit.
Yes.
But progress is not enough.
Yes.
We must do a little bit. Yes.
In as much as we are expressing ourselves as a country, there's this aspect of investor confidence, because whatever happens, especially when it comes to protest and what they degenerate to, does that really, this kind of an environment right now, does it really inspire investor confidence, Wakili?
For any person to be able to set up a business, first of all, there has to be the security aspect of that business. And for us to be able to then lure investors to come to our country, we must ensure that there is some degree of peace and tranquility within our nation. This can only be realized when there is that political goodwill to obey court orders, to be able to uphold the rule of law, to be able to express some degree of tolerance within ourselves and be able to restrain ourselves and be able to act within constitutional means to be able to present our issues without going to destroy the property. Even if we have to protest, then we have to protest in a constitutional way.
Yes.
And even the police, when they have to now protect the property, they have to do it in a constitutional way. For us to be able to achieve a degree of inviting investors to our country, there are certain parameters that we must set for us to be able to achieve that. One is peaceful coexistence. Two is the security. Three is, as the government created this enabling environment for businesses to thrive.
Yeah.
You know, when you're talking about overtaxation, you know, when you're increasing taxes on very rare commodities, and you're making the process of setting up industries within our country difficult or very long, does that encourage investors to come to our country? It doesn't. So for us to be able to look at this investor who is somewhere in UK or China who wants to come to this country, there are certain things that we must do. First of all, we must ensure that our taxation laws are good and they are followed and they are favorable. Two, our security systems are working. The forces, or rather the personnel with the responsibility to protect people and property are doing it within constitutional means. All that couples up to an environment where an investor can come and be able to invest without this fear that the business will be destroyed and all that. So in terms of inviting investors, let us be able to look first of all at ourselves and be able to see, are we able to do our things, our businesses within the constitution, so that we are able to achieve that confidence that we can present to other investors to come to this country and invest. When we do that, things will be good.
Davis, unajua, the young people have been saying they are leaderless, tribeless, and everything. But when it comes to leadership, and we are talking about that getting onto the conversation to the table, what are the dangers of, especially when it comes to having being leaderless and still you want to have that conversation with the government?
What I'll say, Migwi, is that leaderless, tribeless, partyless was a tactic which was used then. And I agreed with the tactic then because they said that if they had leaders at that time, the government will maybe bribe the leaders or abduct the leaders, and then the movement will die. So to that extent, I agree. But today, I think the young people all across the country must agree and admit and must sit down and identify some leaders. They must identify them. They must be leaders who are of goodwill, who are proposed by them, who are filtered by them, sieved by them, who are good speakers, who knows actually the aspirations of the young people, who can speak those aspirations, who are tough talking and tough looking and good negotiators, and who have been with them in the streets. Because you see, when now the Prime Minister has announced that there's going to be an intergenerational dialogue, the young people who are not even young people, who've come out, that they now want to represent the young people, they must be rejected. They must be condemned. And I think, Migu, it's time that young people have identified some leaders and bring them to the table and give them the issues, that now these are our issues. Go and present those issues. It is not a closed issue. Where I disagree with young people, many of us, is that many people think that now if we are going to dialogue, it's now closed. We are going to negotiate as we advance. Yes, if the negotiations do not go right, we advance. We wait for another negotiation day. So we negotiate, but it's not a closed case. Yes.
All right. You know, we can have this conversation all day, but I want to end this, and I want us to do a little bit of an exercise. But before we do that, I want to give you each a minute to give your closing remarks as we put this matter to bed. Wakili.
Yeah, I must say that we are of age. You know, 50 years past post-independence is not a joke. We have also realized that we are aware of that which we want. We have a constitution which is very progressive and alive. And as young people who form part of the bigger percentage of this population in this country, we have things that must be fulfilled for us to be able to grow, and even the generations to come. So going forward, I would like to say that we need to look at 2027 as a year that we need to make a very serious change in this country. And if we get it wrong, then we are doomed. So we must be very, very intentional with these general elections. Let all of us go, take the vote. Let us come out, those who want to vie. Let us be able to convince people, and let us show integrity, honesty in our delivery of promises. I normally say the implementation part of it. So we have an opportunity to change the course of this country, to be able to bring in a good leadership that is going to propel this country forward and be able to realize our aspirations and long live and live to live long enough to be able to enjoy the fruits of the Constitution and guard this nation, because we so love it so much that we have to be in it.
You see, what I said last time when I was here is Chinua Achebe. And Chinua Achebe, where the young suckers will grow when the old banana dies? The young suckers are already here. And to my fellow Kenyans, I will say that what unites us are much more than what divides us. The aspirations of a mother in Kirinyaga is the same as an aspiration of a mother in my village in Kadianga, in Nyakach constituency. The aspirations of a youth in the coast is the same as the aspiration of a young person growing up in Samburu. The aspiration of a businessman in Kisumu to make profits and to grow rich and to grow wealth is the same aspiration of a young business person in Turkana. So let's come together as a country and see the bigger picture, see the greater Kenya, and bring our aspirations together. I want to tell young people who are in different sectors, be it in fashion, be it in the entertainment industry, be it you're a student, be it you have an aspiration in nursing or in environment, this is our country. Politics is a vital organ of our country. Let's come together and let's build the country together. Thank you so much, Migwi, for hosting us this morning. It has been a very good conversation, and I thank you so much. And I'm calling all young people to embrace this conversation and I also call the government to tone down now. Yes, tone down now. Let the young people also tone down, and let's have a goodwill and have a good conversation as a country.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Indeed. Now, Wakili, do you watch football?
I'm an Arsenal fan.
Oh, you and my colleague Victor would mko kwa league moja, Arsenal fans. What about African teams? Because we are going to air the African Championships come next month. Ni team gani Africa una support?
I think how I wish Kenya was there.
Yeah.
How I wish Kenya was there. But you see, Ghana, Senegal, they're good teams. And I really want Senegal to take this thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Davis?
I support Kenya. I also support Arsenal, by the way, and Gor Mahia. I'll be supporting. I support, like, you see, the same.
Yes.
Ghana, Cameroon, Senegal, somewhere there.
Indeed.
Yes.
All right. So
but next time we must work hard so that Harambee Stars is there.
Oh yes, we have to.
Yeah.
We have to. Yeah. That is in no doubt.
Is Salim Mvure the CS for sports still?
Yes.
He needs to.
That's our own conversation. But thank you for honoring the invite and coming here on Future Voices right here on Good Morning Kenya Entertainment Thursday. This is where we end this conversation, but Entertainment Thursday continues shortly.
Thank you.
Definitely a blast from the past. That is, usimpe. Inaitwa tatizo? Oh yeah, mimi ningesema tu DJ niweke ile usimpe roho yako. A beautiful, beautiful song for sure. And as we promised you right here on the show this beautiful Thursday morning, we're going to be giving you nothing but good vibes, from the music that we will be playing to the moves that we are going to be busting over here. I mean, naweza kuwa tunachocha, maybe hata tutabust sana, but wewe ukiwa home pia, bust some moves. And we will be starting with our first conversation on the show right here today. And today we are doing it a bit differently. We're not talking to a musician. We are talking to an all-round artist. He is a digital artist. He's an illustrator. He is a designer. He is a mentor in the same field. He is none other than Brian. And he's here to talk to us more about his work in the digital art space. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm good. It's not as cold as yesterday.
It's not as cold.
Imeanza vizuri.
Imeanza vizuri kabisa. Uko sure ni huku ndani na kuna joto ama nje pia kuna joto kidogo? It's not as cold. I guess
maybe I've adapted. Maybe we've adapted. So I'm feeling good today.
All right. We're going to be asking you to bust some moves later.
Okay. Tutaona.
It's good that you've not said no, umesema tutaona, so there's a possibility that we are going to be dancing with you as well. For those who are seeing you for the very first time, maybe you can introduce yourself the best way you know how.
So, my name is Brian Omolo, born and raised here in Nairobi, Kenya. I'm a digital artist. I also do graphic design, and I've also been teaching for the last almost 10 years now. And my work entails telling stories, creating artwork that tells stories for companies, and sometimes also create artwork that tells stories for myself. And all those interesting experiences, all those interesting experiments brought together to just make an interesting experience for an audience.
Okay. You're an illustrator as well. So how do you differentiate between or what exactly is an illustrator? When you say I'm an illustrator, what does it mean? What does illustrating entail?
So I think it's because a vast majority of my artistic process involves drawing by hand, using interesting line work, and then mastering how I use color and different visual elements to bring together to create something visual. So because majority of that process involves that hand drawing, using that interesting line work, interesting use of shape, colors, and other design elements, it tends to fall a lot under that space of illustration.
Okay, and designing? Is there a difference?
I guess that's an interesting question. I think with graphic design, you don't always necessarily have to know how to draw to be a good graphic designer. Like there are times when people create really good logos. They may have drawn during the sketching process or creating ideas, but the final part of it doesn't necessarily have to have necessarily illustrated lines or things like those. And graphic design can cover more. It can cover even things like photo manipulation. It can cover things to do with layout design, design that's done for printing, design that's done for the screen. So I would say graphic design has a wider scope. Yeah, that's what that's how I would differentiate.
All right. So where did your love for art begin?
Yeah.
Take us way, way back when you realized, when you first encountered art and when you realized, oh, I love this.
Cartoons. Club Kiboko, Saturday morning, I would pause cartoons. Like I would watch like any other millennial kid Saturday morning. And then there are times when I learned how to record them on the VCR. And then I would pause, try and draw a few of them.
Oh, how old were you by then?
Must have been like 7 years old. So my parents saw that and they were like, okay, I think this is something that he's interested in. And then from there, I've just always gone to schools that prioritized teaching art. I was in St. Mary's for like over 10 years. And that was an amazing place to be creative. After that, I've also gone to other schools and colleges. I've gone to college here in Nairobi. And everywhere I was, there was space for me to challenge myself and to grow artistically. So it's been a good journey.
Yeah. Would you say creative specifically in the art space, the drawing bit, would you say it pays in Kenya?
Yes, it does. It does. But of course, everything has its challenges. For you to earn, you have to take time to learn not just the creative side of it, but you also have to learn the business side of it. You have to understand what are some of the problems that potentially your clients have, what are some of the problems that your art can solve. Is it businesses are struggling to connect with their audience? So is there a way you can create art that can help them connect to their audience? That's a lot of where my space is. But sometimes people just create work, they express themselves, and they create things that is true to them. And then they create products out of those what they've created, and then people buy those products. So the money is there, but it's just for you to understand all these different spheres. Am I the type of person who just wants to create freely and then make products that people will buy? Or am I the type of person who understands storytelling and I want to help solve problems for clients? But I think anybody who's really passionate will figure out where they fit in those spaces and then go in that direction.
And figure how to make business off of it. You know, since you say that you actually started drawing from the young age of 6 years old, would you say you knew from the onset that now this is what I would want to do? And, you know, most people say that, you know, growing up in a Kenyan home, whenever you said you wanted to do anything related to the creative side, the parents were not as supportive. Would you say that yours were also as supportive?
Yeah, I was blessed in that way. Like, there's no avenue that I wasn't supported in. In fact, my parents are the ones who are like, they noticed me drawing and they're like, they made sure the schools that I'm going to champion creativity. The idea of me to go and study certain things.
Also, they intentionally were looking for schools that, you know, accepted the creativity to just come out.
Yeah, in fact, there's even a point when in Form 2, I was able to connect with a mentor, which is so interesting. Like, the reason I met this mentor was because I was doing badly in the other subjects in school. So I went to this place where I was doing extra tuition classes. And then at that place, that's where they told me, by the way, we also have an art teacher here. His name is Charles. And Charles completely changed how I think about art, even how I carry myself as an artist. He was the exact kind of personality I needed that was opposite to where I was at that time. And after that, it's like certain confidence comes. The vision in your head becomes bigger. And now it's like you have this huge goalpost that you're chasing every day. So yeah, my parents have always been supportive. I think what is sometimes challenging in our society, like you said, it's not something that people know.
They don't see it as a career.
Exactly.
It's
so
like
when you don't see
something
it,
you do
feel,
to pass time.
you kind of feel like, hey, am I sure about what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Is this a crazy dream? But step by step, things open up. And then I think also the internet connected us to people all over the world. So you're seeing people achieve in this area in different places, and you ask yourself, okay, if they can do it there, why not here? Yeah, so it's been a good gamble.
Yeah. All right, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I want us to talk about what I'm holding right here. So we know that when artists get to release albums for their, that is musicians, when they release albums for the work of art that they've done, they always have an artwork for the album.
Yeah.
And I guess most times we don't really think much about that, you know, because we just concentrate on the music that is being, you know, chucked out from the albums that are released. But there's always that art picture that describes the album that is always there. So this is one of it. And you did this artwork. Kindly tell me more about this artwork. Who are you working with, and elaborate more on it.
Yeah. So this artwork was for a group called Od Okodo. So they are a collaborative group. They have Sven, who is a German producer, and he's very good at like the production side of it, the sound engineering and electric dance music. And then you have Olith, who brings in the Benga blues, the Luo mix of music. So that mix of African fusion and then now European electronic dance music came together to form a really interesting sound, a unique sound. And I think it's a good thing even for audience to understand that when you're creating a product, it's not just the music itself. It's like you see artists, they dress the best. Like in fact, most of us get our fashion sense from watching some of our favorite artists.
That's true.
So it's how they dress, it's how they perform on stage, how they perform when they go for a gig, but also visually, how do they show their music? Like when you go on Spotify, what are you seeing for their cover? When you go on their social media, all those are areas where you can tell stories, where you can connect with your audience.
Yeah, and I think it's not something we usually think about, or is it just me? It's not something I will think about. You know, you'll just go, yes, you'll see the artwork, but then you'll just be, okay, let me listen to this first song or the second one or whatever. But I don't think we pay much attention to the artwork, you know, but some are always, obviously very captivating. You will take some time and look at it, but it's good to know that there are people who are behind this, and you're one of those people who are behind the artwork. So when an artist approaches you for such, what vision do they give you for you to know what you're gonna be drawing? Do they tell you everything they want you to draw? Like, for example, here maybe they told you, I want like to see tall buildings to represent a city. Let's have a person there with some prints to represent Africa. I can see a koroboi over here, if I'm not wrong. So like, what do they tell you when they come to you for the album artwork?
Yeah, I think the best situations are collaborative. Sometimes they come and they already have an idea of what they want. But like with this one, I was working closely with Sven, and Sven was very like, this is the feeling I have, this is what I want to communicate. And then maybe he might say, the koroboi has to be there. But beyond that, he's open to my imagination of what I can potentially put in. He also provided me the pictures. He did a photo shoot with Olith, so he provided those pictures. After that, I'm the one now who goes away and then comes up with some ideas, and then I show him, and then he'll tell me what he likes, what he doesn't like, and then we continue that way. So I find the best projects are a collaboration between the client and then you, the artist, and you guys working well together to bring the vision forward.
There's also a piece on the back of it. So, okay. Okay, I don't... Because for album work, artwork, we're used to the front. Or is it because we see it online, so it's just the front? So this is like an actual physical hard copy
that's a vinyl
album. That's why it also has the back artwork.
So if you look in the music scene, vinyls are really making a comeback. And when we were creating the stories and coming up with different ideas, the idea we have here on the back was also very strong. because we placed the Koroboy at the center, and it was really trying to give that story of, you know, like the way people enjoy music, even up country. The Koroboy allows us to quote unquote party all night, and that euphoria continues. But then you can see I've also fused in like different buildings and sort of a world existing around this musical experience. And if you look closely, there's even some musical instruments hidden in there, like a piano.
Oh, so I haven't noticed.
Yeah, so it's just interesting ways to play around.
Oh yeah, I can see the piano.
Feeling.
It's actually very obvious. Where here, right?
Yes, yeah. So, and that's the fun of it. That's the kind of things that I really enjoy doing, where we don't know what we're gonna get at the beginning, but we kind of go off on that journey, and we end up somewhere good, like here.
I like it. I love it. So, do you enjoy doing such?
Yes. It's amazing. It's a mix of so many things. Like there's always that interesting nervous tension when you're starting from scratch, because people will always come to you, I saw you do this, so I want you to do something even better with this. And I'm like, yeah, no problem, of course. But every artist, if they're really honest with you, it's like a footballer. I had the earlier interview, people talking about football.
Yeah.
A footballer can't promise you a hat-trick every game. You just train well, you eat right, you get ready. So even the artist, you get inspired, you have things that you do to get you in the right creative mood. And then you try your best. And sometimes at the beginning it's nerve-wracking because you're not sure how it will go. But then I've always found that with process, you know, there's that thing where they say inspiration finds you as you're going. So don't wait to be inspired by something, then you start. Usually as you start and as you're playing around with ideas, and after some time, something hits. And then you feel it. You can feel, like I could feel this was going to be a good project once we started going. And even with the kind of client you have, any client who's ready to collaborate and give you information and participate in that process, you can kind of feel it. You can feel, this one's going to be...
definitely know this is going to be a good one.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Now, I checked your Instagram, and there's a post where some of the very recent ones where you had worked for a fellow creative. And you mentioned that, well, the pressure that comes with that, when you're working with a fellow creative, specifically in the drawing field or artwork, it comes with pressure. Tell me about that.
Yes, I feel, even for myself, like if I was to do an artwork for myself, I'd be my own toughest critic. When you're working with people who, it's not that I take the creative's work more seriously. It's just in my mind, I know this other person also has a visual eye and they have a high standard. Because a lot of us, our taste is like here and our ability is here. And every day we're just practicing to get better so that our ability has reached what we're imagining. So I'm thinking about those things as I was creating what I was creating. But again, that client is a very collaborative person, participated in that process, was very open to show me what she was feeling, what she was thinking. And along the journey, it came together, So that's another project I'm really happy. It's one of my favorite projects from last year.
It's the one that had a lioness?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that lioness had a really huge story, an impactful story to her. So she wanted to make sure that was featured in the identity of her studio. You know, the idea of a strong feminine character and something that is uniquely African, but just unique and interesting in its own way. So I was happy with how it came out.
Yeah. So what you're saying, fellow artists have, like their point of view of critiquing is A1, because you know they're critiquing from a point of knowledge. It's not like someone just like me who's not really, I can't draw nothing. I mean, and then now I want to critique your artwork. So when it's from a fellow artist, you just know, okay, now this one.
Maybe it was even me imagining that, because I'm imagining like if I had to create something for my studio, like if you told me today, do a rebrand for O'Brien Studio, I'd just be like, whoa, where do I start? Is it good enough? Is it not good enough? But somehow I like that tension. I like that feeling of, okay, I have a challenge which feels like I might or might not be able to accomplish. That creates a good, exciting sort of nerve-wracking tension between how will I do it, can it be done? And therefore, you feel excited to go on that journey. There's nothing more boring than knowing, this is what I can do, and you almost do it like clockwork. You don't feel like going on journeys like those. Yeah, you want to go on the journey where there's like a chance it might work or not work. Yeah.
Okay. You have 2 pieces with you here.
Yes.
I think we begin with this one.
Yes.
You can just hold it and then you tell us more about that piece.
Yeah.
There we have it. What's happening?
So many
it's
things.
giving fun.
Yeah.
It's giving party. Because I
Yeah.
can see a microphone, guitar, I can see a DJ's decks. Oh,
Yeah.
I can see the laptop, I can see a camera.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there are people, fun-looking people, because those shades are, you know, cool.
Yeah.
Just tell me what's happening.
This is Nairobi. This is Nairobi that I was experiencing back in 2018.
Okay.
It started out as an internet challenge where there's a website called Show Us Your Type, where they challenge artists from all over the world to come up with like a typography of the city that you're in. But for this, I went a bit further and I created like a whole artwork. And these are just different things that I was experiencing and being inspired by in Nairobi. We have, that's my bro.
Oh.
So he has a fashion line called Naiva. So I could see he was being inspired by African fabric. I was also inspired by African fabric. So we see these 2 models in his clothing. And then I didn't want the usual, you know, when people think of Nairobi, there's always the KICC, Times Tower, Skyscape, which is not bad, but I felt like if someone asked you about Nairobi, that's not the Nairobi you'd explain. You'd explain to them whether you're someone who likes matatus, that's what you'll talk about. If you like music, that's what you'll talk about. And that's Blinky Bill. He had just come up with his album. Yeah. He had just come up with We Cut Keys. So I was hugely inspired by that. Chapo, avocado, you know,
fries.
Yeah, burgers. So things that I would experience, like even with my friends. We have the graphic tablet connecting to the laptop. And then I have many friends. I have a best friend who's a filmmaker. So I always feel that your best artwork is an expression of yourself, the things, your history, the things that you love, things that you feel about the life that you're living. Anytime you see artists express that truthfully in their work, it tends to connect with people. We're all just making like diary entries. So this is my diary entry about Nairobi from 2018.
I love it. I love it. And you know, just as you were speaking about this, I remember I've seen, I don't know if we call it a mural, the one at Museum of Illusion.
I think that's where we met.
That's where we met, It's a mural, right? That's the proper word for it. And it was also like showcasing Nairobi, I think showcasing Kenya. And is that what you're more inclined to, or?
I guess so. I mean, I deeply love this country. I deeply love the things that have made me, I think, who I am. And it's interesting, when you become an artist, you start to realize it's not really about me figuring out what other thing to be, what other thing to talk about. We're all really just talking about what we're feeling here. Sometimes we're talking for other people, other times we're talking for ourselves. But anytime you'll ask me to express myself, the story will be Nairobi, the story will be Kenya, and the story will be Africa.
All right, allow me to take a commercial break and then we'll be back to finish off the interview. Let's take a break.
Looking to advertise on KBC? KBC announcement services are now available on eCitizen. Visit kbc.ecitizen.go.ke and fill out the online application form. It's simple. 1. Complete the form.
2. Upload required documents. 3. Receive a quotation based on word count. And 4. Get notified via SMS when your announcement is ready. Please note, clearly indicate the type of announcement, service station, and all relevant details. 2. All applications must be made online only. Manual submissions will not be accepted. And 3. Announcements will air after news bulletins. For assistance, reach us on email ecitizen@kbc.co.ke or use our social media handles, Facebook, your Facebook account, and X at your X account. Or you can call us on 0723 892 654 or 0734 780 124. KBC announcements. Simple, fast, and digital.
And Lamin Camara with his first career goal.
Ni muda wa kuhesabu kwa ajili ya kusherekea fasili na asili ya soka barani Afrika, ligi za ndani na magwiji wasiotambulika.
Mangeni Alvin anaichanja ndani uzuri. David!
Michuano ya CAF ya mataifa ya Afrika 2024 ni njia ya kuzindua kupanua mtandao wa wachezaji ulimwenguni. Timu itakayoshinda itazawadiwa dola za Marekani milioni 3.5 pamoja na kujivunia kulinyanyua kombe hilo. Pata manufaa zaidi kutoka kwa CHAN 2024 mubashara na kipute cha kipekee kwenye runinga ya KBC Channel 1, mwenzio wa dhati michezoni.
Welcome back. In case you're just joining us, we are having a conversation with Brian Omolo, who is a digital artist. Now, Brian, as we finish off with this conversation, you've gotten to win several accolades on your work. If you can just talk to us about maybe one or two of them.
Yes, so those African artists, those are shortlists. So awarding African artists, 100 of them, MasterCard Foundation. That was back in 2018. And then there was the Sondeka Awards, Best Digital Artist. That was back in 2019. And many other things, like there's times I've also been Faculty of the Year, the institution I teach at. I always say that I feel like the Sondeka Award was for my students, because they know themselves. Some of them, you give them homework, they do half. But once they saw me win that award, suddenly whatever homework I gave them, they were doing 100%.
Oh, nice. So it was a motivation for them.
Amazing,
amazing. All right, let's finish off with talking about that other art work.
Yes. So this was a commission by Nescafe Germany. So like, even now, if you are to go to like the supermarket, you'll find.
We can see it. Camera.
Okay. I should maybe lift it. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you'll find when Nescafe sell packages, they usually have like a complimentary mug that comes with it. So for this particular project, they challenged me to come up with like 3 artworks that now the public would vote on.
Okay.
And it's around the idea of sustainable growth, growing responsibly. So the idea of making sure even the farmers are fairly compensated for the work that they're doing. Everybody in the life cycle of these products is compensated properly for what they're doing. So there's aspects of our culture, like materials and things that have grown up being inspired by a Maasai market. And then we have farmers and all these things together forming a composition. So it's one of my favorite artworks, actually.
So it was for a mug?
Yes, so
and then
this would end up now on a mug.
Oh,
on the red, on the classic Nescafe red mug.
Okay.
Yeah, so I actually just printed it for myself as a souvenir to have,
How long does it take you to do such pieces? For example, this that looks like it has a lot of detailing in it, others too. Just how long does it take you approximately?
Depending on the client deadline. So sometimes they'll be like, I want something in a few days. I think the idea takes longer than the work. I think it takes time to get a really good idea, which is why I think clients who understand that creative process will end up getting better results from an artist. So the idea takes time. You have to see it, you have to sketch something, show them, they give you feedback. But once I have the idea and then I'm creating, this can be done between like a week to 2 weeks.
A week to 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. As we finish off, maybe for the young or budding artists that may be watching the show today, digital artists, illustrators, graphic designers, and you know, everyone in that niche. What would you say makes a good artist? As a teacher as well, because you teach art. So what makes a good artist?
I think so many things. Talent is good. Talent helps. Hard work helps even more. And then I think the last part is just having the courage to be authentic to who you are and just being passionate about life. Like, I'm always thinking about why people feel this way, why people feel another way. What do I feel about 1, 2, 3 things? And then I'm thinking about how to express those things, like loving the thing that you do, loving the process of what it is you do. Because you're going to be doing it a lot. Like sometimes you're working on something for long and then you have to start all over again. So fall in love with that process, having that passion and belief that if this is something that you're talented in, that's for a reason. I think that's almost like a divine purpose. And then believing in the problems it can solve, the things that it can do, not just for yourself, but people around you. Any and all of those things are a good place to think about, and just believing that it's there for a reason and it will take you somewhere.
Okay. Now speaking for people like my DJ Unique, who do not know how to draw.
I believe everyone knows how to draw. It's just a level of drawing. There's some of us who draw maybe simple patterns, others can draw even expert comics.
Can someone who does not have the talent for drawing get into the drawing business and
very easily? Okay, not
from working,
easily.
Just practicing?
Yeah, because now we're in an era where through social media you can connect to content. Things that had me fly across the world to learn, people are learning now just by going on YouTube, going on TikTok. There's stuff that I only found out when I flew away for university. Then now I'm noticing even my students doing things that took me 10 years to do. They are doing it in like a year and a half or 2 years. So that's why I feel there's been no better time to be a creator than now. But of course, with easy access to information, you have more people accessing that same information. So the competition is high.
All right, so there's hope.
Kapsa.
There's hope for people like Unique. When I say people like Unique, I'm also very included there. Because I can't even sketch a chicken. Like, maybe kwanza I'm the worst.
When it comes to drawing, that is where I draw my line.
That's why you draw your line. Nice one. And that is where we end this conversation. Thank you so much, Brian, for first of all just coming and gracing our show today and speaking to us more about this side of arts. You know, so we appreciate. All right, thank you to you for tuning in for this conversation. Remember, this is not where we end the show. We get to continue. And right now, the dancing shoes I had told you about, Zilete Sasa, put them on. It's about time. Don't go too far.